They say if you walk by the river late at night, you may hear the sounds of a woman weeping. Turns out I did just that. And because I did that, I came across the woman herself and had to run very fast, very far away, and lost our intro footage. So, without further ado, I present to you Midnight Cryptid Club's La Llorona. Today, we are discussing one of the most famous spirits in Latino history, La Llorona. La Llorona literally means the crying woman, and her legend has been with us for hundreds of years. While there are several versions of her tale, all involve the same three elements: a woman, her children, and an irreversible act driven by heartbreak. According to the legend, there was once a beautiful young woman named Maria. Her exceptional beauty soon caught the eye of a wealthy man passing through her village. The two fell in love when they had 2 children. However, the attraction would not last. Though Maria remained faithful in her affection, her lover began seeing another woman from a wealthier family than her own. In a jealous fit of rage and despair, Maria lured her children to a nearby river and held them under the running water until they drowned. Immediately, she broke from her trance and was overcome with grief over what she had just done. Consumed by guilt, she drowned herself in the very same river. Her tortured spirit is said to still roam the land, wailing out, "Mis hijos! Mis hijos! ¿Dónde están mis hijos? Where are my children?" The legend says if she sees you, she will drown you in the river, just like she did to her own children. There are many stories of people's personal encounters with La Llorona. One of the most famous accounts was documented by folklorist Bess Lomax Hawes in her article, La Llorona in Juvenile Hall. The article includes descriptions of a weeping woman haunting a juvenile detention center in California. I was actually able to find a lot of personal stories in my research from people who claimed they had encountered the spirit themselves, and claimed that she actually tried to take them when they were children. In these first-hand accounts, the victims mentioned being unable to move once they lock eyes with the spirit. The only way they escaped was by averting their gaze or closing their eyes. Almost all accounts describe her as having long, matted, dark hair and wearing all white. Some mention her wearing a hood and cape or veil, and others even describe her as having the bones of her dead children embedded in her spine. No matter what the iteration, La Llorona is a pretty horrifying figure to discuss. There are versions of her story that span all of Latin America. Guatemala, Ecuador, Venezuela, the US, and even Spain all have their own versions of La Llorona legend. But she's most famously associated with Mexico and Mexican culture. To trace her origins, we need to travel all the way back to the Spanish conquest of the Americas. Many associate La Llorona's story as deriving from the tales surrounding the Aztec goddess of fertility, Xiacoatl. It's said that she would also wail for children lost to childbirth or gone much too young. Stories about La Llorona, as we know her today, have been passed down since the 1550s in colonial Mexico. It's likely that the story behind the legend, Maria uniting with a Spaniard of high status, was a reflection of colonial Mexico at the time. Many indigenous or mestiza, mixed race, women were left by Spanish husbands for younger women or women coming directly from Spain. There are actually some direct parallels drawn between the story of La Llorona and the story of La Malinche, a Nahua woman who served as Hernan Cortés's interpreter and also bore his son. La Malinche is considered both the mother of the modern Mexican people and as a symbol of national treachery for her role in aiding the Spanish. So there's some complicated family history going on there. Much like El Sombrerón that we discussed last week, La Llorona's purpose seems to serve as a warning, particularly for women, on what is considered acceptable behavior within the culture. Parents use it to ensure young girls do not wander far and do not act on impulse or in fits of passion. Though I should mention, La Llorona is also said to seduce young men who wander alone at night and drag them to a watery grave. So look out, boys. La Llorona has also been used as a warning for children, to ensure they return home before dark, don't go anywhere alone, and play carefully near bodies of water. La Llorona's influence can be found all over popular culture. There are several films made about the legend, including one by Guatemalan director Jairo Bustamante, whom we discussed last week. She even has made appearances on modern TV shows like Supernatural and Grimm. There's also a famous Mexican folk song called La Llorona, which has been covered by countless artists, from Chavela Vargas to Rosalia. All right, Cryptid Familia, this brings us to the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. I know El Sombrerón and La Llorona were a little more supernatural than our typical creatures that we discuss, but I promise we'll be back on the more traditional cryptid bandwagon from here to the end of October. The costumes will just keep getting weirder and the stories spookier, so I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. For now, good night, sleep tight, and don't let them monsters by. The mother, yep. Also play carefully or careful. Nope.